Hi everyone, it's John from What Up. Welcome back to another video, and today we're doing an Easter egg video for the latest episode of The Wheel of Time, Season 3, Episode 5, Tel'aran'rhiod. Now, if you love The Wheel of Time as much as I do, or if you're just interested in all the news and goings-on and all the things that are upcoming in the next few months, consider making us your home for Wheel of Time news. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and of course, tell all of your friends. Now, today's video is going to get a bit spoilery, as do all of my Easter egg and breakdown videos. We're doing full book spoilers for this one, folks, so if you haven't read the series and you don't care about spoilers, it's totally fine. But if you do care about spoilers, we are doing spoilers from Book 1, The Eye of the World, all the way up through and including Book 14, A Memory of Light by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson, as well as the show. So everything that's released currently right now, the first 2 seasons and the first 5 episodes of Season 3. So if you haven't seen or read those things, be forewarned, there may be spoilers throughout. Now, let's start diving into some of these Easter eggs in this episode, because there is a ton of them to get through, and I'm pretty excited about it. Beginning of the episode, we see Moiraine playing with Sarkin. So it's a Sangreal, and I've kind of described them a bit in my other videos, and I have a full video on Objects of Power in my Explain section if you guys want to check it out. But the strain and the ecstasy is evident on her face when she's drawing that much of the 1 power. Essentially, the Cole's notes of it is this thing lets you draw way more 1 power than you normally would be able to. And it will be the strongest one that a woman can use in the show. So after that scene, we see Lan kind of helping her out because she's tired, she's exhausted. It really took a lot out of her, and we get this shot here with all these lines kind of weaving out for Moiraine. Now, this could mean nothing, or it could mean a bunch of different things. I took it as the fact that right now Moiraine's central to the story. Every one of her decisions has consequences, and she saw them all when she went through the rings. Now, most of those decisions led to utter disaster. When Rand did not win the last battle, the Dark One took over, and the light lost, essentially. There was a few key elements that she has to incorporate in her life in order for the one path to be proper. And we'll talk about that a bit later when we see another Easter egg with her and Lan talking about what she has to do. But I thought this was pretty cool, because right now, essentially in the show, Moraine's the center of the story. She has been for the first 2 seasons, and she is so far going into the 3rd season, which makes total sense. It's been mostly from her point of view. She has been the main character, and she's been billed as a main character. And we know that there is a very good chance she's not making it out of this season at all if you've read the books. So I think showing this shows that she still is right now, but probably not for much longer. Look at this. So when they're first walking into Cold Rock's Hold, one of the things I noticed, and I rewatched it 2 or 3 times just to see it, was a lot of the other Aiel, they weren't paying attention. They were looking at their feet. They were kind of like chatting with each other. They were being very, in my opinion, un-Aiel. And then I realized something. If you look in the background of all of these shots, you see a number of Aiel all watching them. So they're already within the bounds of Cold Rock's Hold at this point. They're already under the watchful eye of all their other members of their clan. So it's not something that I don't think is outside the realm of possibility for Aiel to be relaxed and comfortable when they're in a place when they should be relaxed and comfortable. Even a relaxed Aiel is way more reactive than someone from the wetlands who's on their guard all the time. So I thought it was kind of neat, because you notice when you watch the shot here, they're chatting, they're kind of laughing, they're looking down, one guy's even scuffing his feet a little bit. I think that's on purpose. I think it's because they're being watched as they're going in here, and they know that they're safe at this point, or safe as they can be in the Waste, either way. We get to meet this young lady here. So this is Rhuarc, Leanne, and Bear's great daughter. So when we meet her first, her name is Alcera. Now, in the book series, there's only one Alcera that I'm aware of, and that Alcera is another wise one. So she is just kind of a blink if you miss it moment in the books. She is a wise one that cannot dreamwalk, cannot channel, and the other wise ones come to her in her dreams and let her know that everyone has to go to the Golden Bowl, or Al-Cardal, in order for the Car'a'carn to be proclaimed. So she is the wise one to Bruin of the Nakai Aiel. So I thought it was kind of neat they use the same name here. What the show tends to do is they use a lot of names of characters, recycled names from characters, because there's 2,782 some odd named characters in the book series, and we are not going to see even a third of them on screen. So any small character that has a little bit of plot progression tends to have a name from the books. Sometimes they have meaning. I don't know if it does in this case or not. I don't believe it does, but it's just neat to see. Now we're going to talk just a bit about Rhuarc's wives. So in the book series, Bane and Leanne are not his wives. So he has 2 wives as well in the book series. It's Leanne and Amis. But we haven't seen Amis yet in the show, and the general consensus is that Bear is likely amalgamated with Amis, because Bear in the book series can dreamwalk but can't channel. and Bear in the show can both dreamwalk and channel like a Mies can. So just a little neat little call out here. Again, they're just stuffing more characters into other characters because they have to start cutting people. There's no way they're going to give screen time, especially considering the truncated version of the show that we're getting with 8 episodes per season instead of what should be 16 or 20. But again, this is just more amalgamation of characters together. Kind of neat to see that they did it this way, though, because they took a couple of very important characters that have similar plot lines and they kind of put them together, which makes sense. This scene right here, Bear calls Egwene Sedai. It's not something that they've really explored in the show very much, but during the book series, both Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine, all 3 of them actually, pretend to be full Aes Sedai when they're out in the world, before they ever get tested or actually earn the right to wear the ring at any finger. Now, in the way specifically, Egwene pretended she was Aes Sedai for a very long time to the Wise Ones, and they just accepted it, because Aiel basically don't lie. Their code of honor, Ji'ito, prevents them, for the most part, from lying, so they just took her at face value. Now, she eventually does come clean in the books and has to serve penance, and once your penance is served to the Aiel, then it's like the crime never happened. So here we're seeing that in the show. It's just a very subtle, quick call-out where she calls her Egwene Sedai, and that was done, I think, completely on purpose, because she is likely either masquerading as a full Aes Sedai here, or just not correcting them, which is just as bad. This here, so we get a shot of Elaida in with Siuan in this episode, and there's a whole lot of politicking, a whole lot of maneuvering with Elaida and Siuan in this episode, and I loved every minute of it. But we also get to see in the background, this is important for later on in the episode, the Tearing Grail on the wall. So during the first season, Siuan uses Tearing Grail to go into the Fisherwoman's hut to meet Moiraine, and it wasn't talked about as being a Tearing Grail. It wasn't really explained in the show, but if you watch the X-ray data, yes, it was. So the X-ray data called it a Tearing Grail, talked about the world's dreams in it, Tel'aran'rhiod, and said that, didn't really say that this is totally an entrance to it, but it implied that. So here we see it again over the fireplace there, and we do get to see her and Moiraine in that Fisherwoman's hut later on, which is likely because Siuan is still using the Tearing Grail to go into it. Kind of neat. All right, I want to bring up this. So you see in the background, you see these white-robed figures. We talked about them last episode. Those are Gaishan. Essentially, they are Aiel who have some sort of really, really, really big shame. And 99% of the time, that shame is being touched in battle and not actually fighting the person who touched them. So they're carrying a weapon, somebody else has a weapon, they drop their weapon, or they don't have a weapon, and they touch them in battle, and they leave them alone unharmed. That's the greatest shame that there is, one of the greatest shames that there is to an Aiel, and usually at that point they would demand to be made Gaishan to this person afterwards in order to pay their debt, their honor, their obligation. An Aiel Gaishan serves for a year and a day, and they can do no harm, touch no weapon, do no violence, and anything they do as a Gaishan, essentially during that time frame, is forgotten the moment they take the white off after that year and a day. So they can do all kinds of stuff. None of it really matters, unless it's shameful, of course, but none of it really matters at the end of that year and a day because their penance is paid. But we do get to see them here. They become an important part later on in the book series, especially when the Shaido are involved. Not sure if we're going to see that in the show or not, but neat to show them here in Cold Rock's Hole while everybody's having their meal. I want to talk about this a bit. So this is Egwene and Bear, and they're kind of learning dreamwalking at this point. So, or they're teaching Egwene dreamwalking. Now, the teaching in this episode was pretty truncated. We got a couple of scenes of them teaching her, and then she essentially becomes a full-fledged dreamer, which to me, for the show, makes total sense because they're not going to go through 3 or 4 episodes or longer of her learning how to do this stuff and become good at it. They don't have the time to do that. But while they're teaching her, they're sitting on this rug, and if you get a good look at this rug, and it's in a few different shots, it's 2 serpents, and these 2 serpents are twined around each other, kind of in a circle going down into like a ring. And they look exactly like the stone twisted ring that Egwene uses within the book series to access Tel'aran'rhiod initially, before she learns how to become a dreamer. So I think that was completely on purpose here because she is learning to dream now for the first time. She does not have that ring. She never acquired it in the show. So I think this was just a neat little call out to that, which I thought was kind of cool. And then again, once she's in the world of dreams, we see this. They say that she's wearing armor because she feels nervous. And whatever you feel like in the world of dreams is what's going to happen to you. So you can change your clothes, change your features, change where you're at. basically you can make anything real as long as you have strong enough will to make it happen. And here she is in armor, but it's not just any armor. It's the exact same armor that she saw when she was going through her accepted test, when she was the Amyrlin, when she had to still Rand. So you can tell at this point she's having some feelings about Rand for sure, because prior to this scene, they had, I don't want to say a fight. It was more of a tender moment between the two of them, but it wasn't a great moment. It was kind of a sad moment. They both know things are on the rocks. They both know things aren't working out really well at this point. She pulled away when he tried to kiss her in that scene, and then the hug they had was pretty sad. So she probably has some heavy stuff in her mind going into the world of dreams, especially about Rand. And this is a very telling aspect of that when she appears in the armor that she was wearing as Amyrlin. Now, when she's actually in the world of dreams, we see this a fair bit. We see these little silvery images of children and other people kind of running around. Essentially, it's kind of explained in the show that anyone and everyone can touch the world of dreams at one point or another just in their sleep by accident. It totally happens all of the time. And sometimes people die in their sleep because what happens in the world of dreams happens in the waking world as well. So if you hurt yourself in the world of dreams, it's entirely possible that you're going to hurt yourself or die in the waking world as well. So seeing these little things here, especially after they talked about people being able to touch the world during their sleep, is kind of neat that they just showcase this just a little bit to show that they're there. And it does lead into a major plot line later on when we do get to see some of the heroes of the Horn, because that's where they hang out when they're not being summoned from the Horn. They hang out in Tel'aran'rhiod, and we do get to see some of them later on. So I think this is a call out to when we eventually will get to see them. All right, so this is, we're going to have to do a couple things here. We're still doing spoiler warnings, but I'm going to get rid of this little hand here, and I'm going to move my ugly mug up top just for a second so we can talk about this. On either side of Tar Valon's harbor in this shot, you see these towers. There's chains coming out of these towers going down into the water. So you folks see that? They're pretty important in the book series. Essentially, when Egwene becomes the rebel Amyrlin and leads the rebels against Tar Valon, they're at a stalemate. So they have a big army outside of Tar Valon. Tar Valon is under siege, but it's not a real siege because money and supplies and food and stuff can still enter through the harbors on big ships. And it's difficult for them to cover the rivers and try to get rid of everything that comes in. So Tar Valon's basically at an advantage because they have these chains that can block off invading vessels. They drop them for their own supply vessels to come in, and then they raise them again. Egwene devised a plan to turn these chains into something called Queelandar or Heartstone. Now, Heartstone has been something that's pretty much been lost since the Age of Legends. They didn't know how to make it until it was rediscovered during the book series. And it's the most indestructible substance on Earth. The use of the one power against it makes it stronger. Like there's all kinds of uses for it, but mainly you have vanity pieces. You have cups, plates, mugs, cutlery, things of that nature made of Heartstone, and they're highly coveted by the rich because you can't make it anymore. Their plan was to turn these chains into Heartstone while the chains were up. That way, supply vessels couldn't get in and continue to supply Tar Valon. And they only kind of half succeeded in the plan. But I thought it was really neat seeing these chains out here like that because that is included in this shot and it's purposeful. Like there's no way that isn't because this shot is all CG. Of course it is. It's not a real city. So they had to add those things in. I thought it was very neat to see that. Next we have this. So we have Elaida talking to Alvarian. Now Alvarian Sedai is a member of the White Ajah, but in the book series and likely in the show as well, she is also Black Ajah. So she is in service to the Dark One, and she eventually becomes Elaida's keeper. And she is pretty much the head of the Black Ajah in the books. So she positioned herself in such a way to assist Elaida becoming into power, and she's not held back by any of the trappings of the position. She's like second in command. She's the keeper of the Chronicles. She's not the Amyrlin herself, so she can get away with a whole lot more, and she can manipulate Elaida into doing what she wants. So seeing her like this, talking to Elaida, just starts setting up that relationship. We've seen it a couple times in the show where she's talking about how she may need her and logic prevails. So I think we're going to see her as the keeper likely sooner than later because they have set it up all season so far. It's really neat to see them together like that. So the Athan Mir, the Sea Folk, they're portrayed in this show a little bit now. I would have loved to have seen an entire episode dedicated to them. I, for one, know that's not going to happen. I was a little nitpicky in my review about that, but it is what it is, but they're portrayed really well. So here you have them with their nose to ear chains with all of their charms on it, all of their earrings, all of their nose rings. That's something that's really, really prevalent in the book series. One of the things they didn't show here in the show that's a little bit different than the books, and I, for one, think it's a great change, considering that you'd have to change the rating of the show likely to do it, is that the sea folk are generally topless at sea. And that's not something we're seeing in the show. Also, we're going to talk just a bit about the Windfinders and how they channel at sea here in a minute. There's a couple of Easter eggs I want to talk to about that. But that's part of the reason why they were really hesitant about letting Aes Sedai on the ship, is because they don't know, the Aes Sedai doesn't know that there is a great number of people, in fact, one for every single ship, members of the sea folk that can channel. So, well, we'll talk a bit about that when we see the actual channeling, which is gorgeous and looks just like the Northern Lights, which I think, again, is on purpose. All right, so we get a little scene with Maxim here, and I've seen some people talk online about how Maxim is just kind of being a little bit of a petulant child here. He's going against his Aes Sedai. He's mad. He wants to go avenge Ivan. He wants to go avenge the other warder, the love of his life. Now, realistically, Alanna could use the bond to compel him to stay with her and do what she wants, but she's not doing that because they have a relationship and they actually do mean something to each other. But Maxim is doing exactly what a warder would do in the book series if someone close to him died. So if an Aes Sedai dies or another warder dies, if the Aes Sedai dies first off, that usually sends the warder into one of two things. Either like a death spiral where they are wishing for death and they try to avenge their loved one or their Aes Sedai to the point where they're going to die doing it, which is what I think Maxim wants to do. He wants to go after Liandrin in this scene, and he has no chance by himself, but he wants to go kill her, which is essentially a death sentence for him. And two, they just kind of give up. He hasn't given up, so that's what he's going at. But it's generally reserved for Aes Sedai. If there's another warder there, we didn't really see in the book series a whole lot where a second warder would die and the effects on the primary warder, other than extreme concern for their Aes Sedai. So I think what we're seeing here is Alanna is going through all of those effects. The mourning of her warder, the mourning of her lover, the mourning of her friend, and the bond is just amplifying that because Maxim's going through it too, and they're kind of feeding off each other at this point. I did a whole video on the warder bond and what it meant, what happens with it, and I think this is a really good way of them showcasing that just amplification of emotion in kind of circular loop here between the two of them, where he can't take it anymore and he just wants to leave. That's why he's talking about having her mute the bond for him. Now, I mentioned this at the beginning of the Easter egg video, but essentially Moiraine says in this scene that in every possible future that she's seen, in order for Rand to win the last battle and come out alive, she has to die. And that is exactly the same as the book series. We've known this since the very first teaser trailer with the voiceovers. It was this voiceover in that teaser trailer. So we understand it's going to happen. For someone who hasn't read the books, they may not understand exactly what is happening, but generally, everybody at this point knows that Moiraine is saying this. And I think a lot of people, especially people who've reviewed the series and done full season reviews that talked about problems later on, and problems within the series, probably don't understand that Moiraine dies in the books, or she is removed from the story, I guess is a better way to put it, for a very long time. She has a fight with Lanfear, she falls through the red twisted stone doorframe, and she's, for all intents and purposes, gone from the book series after book 5. And that's it. So her talking about this and bringing it up multiple times in the show, they're referencing that scene over and over and over, and they're building the suspense for the season. Now this is the Windfinders, or the sea folk who can channeling at sea. Now, one of the things I want to say is that this, to me, looked exactly like the Northern Lights you'd see at sea. I've seen it a number of times at sea, so I know exactly what it looks like, and this is spot on gorgeous, and I think that's on purpose. I think the channeling was meant to look like this because this is what you would see on the deck of a ship if you go outside in the middle of the night in areas of the world where you can see the Northern Lights, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Those of you out there who have seen it, let the folks know down below. But yeah, absolutely gorgeous, and I think it was done completely on purpose like this. And one of the things the Windfinders can do, and they're very good at, is they weave weather. Big, huge, ropey strands of air and wind, and they're very, very good at that. They become incredibly good at that over the years because that's all they do. They ensure that the rakers or the sea folk ships can go fast. They ensure that they don't run aground or run into storms. They do all of those things by adjusting the weather in and around the area of the ship so that they can basically become as good legendary traders that they are within the series. But either way, neat little call out, I think, to what you would actually see here is showcasing the channeling of the Northern Lights, which was gorgeous. Now here, they're talking a bit about the promise. Now, in the book series, the Sea Folk are known for their promises. They're known for their bargains. So essentially, they'll make a bargain with somebody, and they are the best negotiators in the world. So the Grey Ajah, who is supposedly diplomatic and supposed to do negotiations, they have a very hard time dealing with the Sea Folk because they're way better than they are. That's just how it works. But essentially, you don't break your bargain with the Sea Folk. You make a bargain, that is the bargain, and you stick to it. They talk a bit about it here, but it becomes very, very important much later on in the book series because Rand actually makes bargains with them as the Cormor. So he's a Karakar to the Aiel, he's the dragon to the people of the wetlands, and he's the Cormor to the Sea Folk. So he is a person of prophecy to a number of different people. I don't know if we'll get that part of it because it was a smaller plot line within the book series, but this is a nice call out to their bargains and how they take care of that part there. So when I saw this gentleman hanging here, I kind of did a double take for a couple of different reasons. First reason is he looks an awful lot like Barney Harris, the gentleman who played Matt in the first season before he was recast. So the first 6 episodes were played by Barney Harris, and then the last 2 episodes of the first season, no Matt. Season 2, Donald Finn, the person who plays Matt right now, he played Matt until present day. But he looks an awful lot like Barney Harris. But more so, the fact that he's hanging here and he's missing an eye, which is very important to Matt's character. We already know that we're likely going to see something to this effect in the show, because Min has done some viewings of Matt hanging from a red twisted stone doorframe, much like he does in the books. But for those of you who don't know, essentially, Matt visits the Finn, so the Elfin and the Elfin, twice in the books. The first time he visits them is in Tyr. So it would have happened before this point in the story. He goes through this red twisted stone door frame that he knows they'll answer some questions for him. So he asks a couple of questions, he gets frustrated with the answers, and then he gets more information out of them. So he asks, should I go home to my people? Because he's worried about the 2 rivers. He knows Perrin's going, and he's wondering if he should go too. And they say, you must go to Rodion. And he goes, why should I? And the Finns say, well, you have to go to Rodion or you'll die. And he's like, why? So that's his 3 questions. Matt doesn't do a very good job of this. He's not thinking this through. They say, you will sidestep the threat of fate, left your fate to drift in the winds of time, and you will be killed by those who do not want that fate fulfilled. And when Matt demands to know the fate at that point, he gets really upset. The Finn get frustrated with him and say, your fate is to marry the daughter of the 9 moons, to die and live again, and to live once more a part of what was, to give up half the light of the world, to save the world, go to Rodion, son of battles, go to Rodion, trickster, go gambler. So seeing this, it's a call out to what the Finn said to him. So essentially, give up half the light of the world, save the light of the world, Matt loses an eye. And there's a whole lot of call outs to mythology and to especially Norse mythology and Odin with Matt and all the characters. There's a whole lot of things that is covered really well in a number of books and online publications. But him being hung like this, or him being hanged, sorry, I was corrected in another video when I said that the wrong way, like this, is a call out to what happens at the second red twisted stone door frame. So he goes through that one in Rodion in the book series, and he asks questions. And they don't give him questions, they don't give him answers to his questions. They give 3 gifts at that point, and he has to ask for things. He doesn't know that. Eventually he asks for a way to get rid of Aes Sedai, to not be dealt with the power again, which he gets, which is a foxhead medallion. Lets people not channel against him. He asks for the holes in his memory to be filled, which happens. They fill it with the memories of all the great generals and fighters in history, essentially. And then he asks to leave. And one of the things he didn't do is set a bargain with them, so he didn't give a price for this. So when they left, he ended up being hanged by a rope attached to an ashendari, which is like a sword spear, a weapon he uses the rest of the book series, from the boughs of Avendasora. So seeing this, little call out to that, because we know we're not getting that version of it in the show, because Matt is not in Rodion, Matt is in Tanchico with the girls, but I think a nice little neat call out to his fate further on. We've seen this particular call out a number of different times in the show since season 1 with Matt. So it's one of those things that they're peppering in a few different times. Now I want to talk about this. So this is something a little Easter eggy, but more, I think, an explanation is required for some people than not. So Elida goes down to talk to the 2 members of the Black Ajah, and she ends up killing them. So she kills Amiko here with the one power, and there are a whole lot of people very upset about that. Aes Sedai can't use the one power as a weapon. They can't kill people with it. Well, they can. They can't use it against regular people or other Aes Sedai or anyone who's good. But if they believe in their heart of hearts that someone is either a dark friend or shadow spawn, there is well within their power to use the one power as a weapon against them. It's right in the three oaths. So not only does Elaida believe this, Amiko and Joya both admit to it from their own mouths. And them being Aes Sedai, no one really knows that they can lie at this point. Very few people do, and Elaida is probably not one of them. So seeing another Aes Sedai admit that they're Black Ajah, that admit that they're Dark Friend, they won't give up their sisters, that they're not going to give up information against the other people that they're kind of conspiring against, or conspiring with, rather. That's more than enough information for Elaida to go, yep, you're a Dark Friend. So she kills her. Totally within all the rules and bounds that she can do, because she believes, Elaida believes in her heart of hearts that she's a Dark Friend. Now, here's the kicker. You can have the most innocent person in the world. If an Aes Sedai believes they're a Dark Friend, they can still use one power's weapon against them. No problem. It's all based on the belief, and the belief has to be there for the Aes Sedai to do it. Same as Aes Sedai can totally lie, as long as they believe the lie. If they don't know any different, they can totally lie. They can just make stuff up all the time if they really wanted to, but they have to believe it's true. It's all based around belief with these things. The three oaths sound pretty watertight. They're super not. There's ways around probably almost everything. Now, I want to talk about this gentleman right here. So this is the Grey Man that attacked Joya and Elaida eventually. Now, this is the same Grey Man we saw Malkedian making at the end of the first episode. So this is Jaichim Carradine. Now, Jaichim Carradine is an Inquisitor with the White Cloaks in the book series, and he was essentially wearing his White Cloak garb when he was being made into a Grey Man. He had an entire plot line in the book series that was not... It had a great arc and a very satisfying end, but I want to say that it was not entirely important to any of the other main plot lines in the series at all. It helped with some of them, but they're truncating plot lines, so they're going to give little callouts here and there. So this here is Jaichim Carradine. It is him, according to the credits. It's still played by the same gentleman that plays him. And I thought it was neat that they made him into a Grey Man, they used him, and then he died. Because we now know as book readers that whole arc is likely not going to happen, which, I mean, let's face it, we probably knew that anyway. But it's nice to see that they did call that out within the show as well by doing this. Now we have Perrin. Perrin going to the White Cloak camp. He sees a wolf head on a stake, and directly after this, he kind of goes, not quite Berserker Rage Perrin, but he's pretty upset. This is a call out with the fog, with the dead wolves, with Perrin in the White Cloak camp to a couple of different things. So yes, this scene does happen much like this in the book series. However, initially, the very first time Perrin meets the White Cloaks, he is in a spot in a steading with Elias, and he has wolves all around him. He's just learned about being a wolf brother. He's learned about the wolves, and the White Cloaks come in and they kill the wolves, and then he goes berserk. And it happens within a fog. It happens where the White Cloaks are very scared about the wolves, so that's why they're killing them, and he gets very upset about that. So I think seeing this wolf head on the spike here was a call out to two things. First thing is that, yeah, it was likely back to seeing all these wolves dead here to that very first time Perrin met the White Cloaks, but it's also likely a call out to Slayer. So Lord Luke is in the show. We haven't been introduced to him as Slayer just yet, but he has an alter ego called Slayer that he uses in the Wolf Dream, or the World of Dreams, Tel'aran'rhiod, where when he's in the Two Rivers with Perrin, he basically is just slaughtering all the wolves in the Wolf Dream, as many of them as he can, so Perrin doesn't have help. Well, the consequence of it is Perrin doesn't have help, but he does it because he enjoys killing animals, especially wolves. And one of the bad things about killing a wolf in the Wolf Dream is they're not reborn. They don't come back. They're dead for good if they're killed in the Wolf Dream. And that's one of the things that Hopper warns Perrin. So seeing this here, again, we don't see Lord Luke a whole lot yet, and we haven't seen him with the White Cloaks, really. He is more aligned with the Two Rivers folk at this point. But seeing these things here, that's another little inkly thing. Maybe he is with the White Cloaks. Maybe he is killing wolves for them. We don't know. Now, we're getting to the end of the episode here, and this is where Egwene is stepping through everyone's dreams. I thought it was a nice end cap to the episode, especially the very last dream she saw, which was this dream with Rand. So we're going to do this one first, because I want to talk about Lanfear's hair. So Rand is wearing the same coat that he wore in Season 1. He's sitting in the same spot in Season 1 that he sat with Egwene when they were being all lovey-dovey at the very first of the show. So Episode 1, this is the same spot. That is the same wardrobe Rand wore, only he was sitting there with Egwene and they're being lovey-dovey. Now he's sitting there with Lanfear being lovey-dovey. And Lanfear has the same haircut that Egwene has in the show. That is 100% on purpose and totally something Lanfear would do to manipulate Rand into liking her. She sees something about a girl that Rand likes and goes, yep, I'm going to steal that, I'm going to use it, and then I'm going to continue to make him to like me. So I thought that was a really neat little tidbit there. Then you have this, which you went into Nynaeve's dream. This is little Egwene, like baby Egwene. Nynaeve's being kind of motherly to her here, teaching her how to listen to the wind. Nice little call out, again, to the very first episode. So we have 2 call outs to the very first episode of the series so far, because back then they talked about this scene a fair bit. And it's nice to see Egwene kind of stepping into people's dreams and seeing it. And then she jumps into Elaine's dream, and of course Elaine is pretending she can channel like a Windfinder. And I thought this was kind of neat. So Elaine's dream, of course, is happy, is fun. There's nothing bad about it at all. She's with Aviendha, who she has formed a relationship with in the show. She's dreaming all good things. And she's seen the Windfinder's channel, and she was very impressed with it. And now she's dreaming about it. So she's lived a pretty sheltered life. She sees something good, she's going to dream good things about it. I thought that was really neat to see this here. And then finally, we have another dream. This is, again, these are all good dreams so far, with the exception of Rand's dream, because it's good for Rand, not so great for Egwene when she sees Lanfear. But Matt gets to see his sisters again. His mother says she's proud of him. This was a tearjerker moment. It's one of those things. This is how Natty Cawthon was in the books. Natty Cawthon was proud of Matt. Natty Cawthon was a good person. Natty Cawthon was a good mother, a good member of the community. In the show, she totally was not. So we're seeing here book Natty Cawthon and book sisters is what we're seeing here in this stream. And I thought it was very nice to see a little end cap, nice little tidbit for Matt. I thought that was very nice. And then Hopper. Of course, we have not seen much of the Wolf Dream this season. I don't think we've seen any of it actually at all. And it's a fairly big part of Perrin's story. So it's one of those things, seeing him dreaming and seeing him dreaming of Hopper and talking to Hopper and Hopper jumping up and trying to catch the sparks as they're flying, as he's being a blacksmith, but also making the axe that he wields with that hammer, is just a whole mess of little Easter eggs for Perrin. So he has a choice in the book series between axe and hammer for a very long time. And it's one of the big defining moments of his character when he just finally chooses between the two of them. Hopper and him, again, very, very close for the first few books of the series. The Wolf Dream is a very important part of it. He learns how to operate in it. Seeing Hopper again in this season within this context, really very neat. So a lot to unpack there. Again, I want to ask you folks, if you see something in these episodes that's considered an Easter egg that I miss, and I'm going to miss a lot of them, folks, write it in the comments down below, but make sure you include the word Easter egg. I've seen a lot of people saying, I've seen this, I've seen that, and they're writing Easter eggs down there. Include the words Easter egg, please. That way it's easier for me at the end of the season to go back through, search for everything, find all the Easter eggs that you folks are talking about, and then make it one big video of all the things I missed, and then credit the folks that actually found them. It makes it easier. Make sure you write Easter egg there. So a lot of good stuff there. We have a few other things coming up here in the next little bit. We have a preview of episode 6 that I want to dive into. We'll probably do that one next. That'll be tomorrow's video. We have a breakdown video of episode 5, so a full breakdown of differences between books and shows is going to happen. I have an interview with Luke Featherston, Gowan himself, that's going to come out here on the channel. I have an interview with Thomas Napper, the director of episode 3 and 4. It's going to come out here on the channel. I will be releasing interviews with Zoe Robbins, Kay Alexander, a few others as well in the next couple of weeks. There's lots coming out in the next few weeks. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And I want to thank you all so very much for sticking with us here to the very end. Here's to many more.